Anybody need a break or power through here? All right, with that, I'm gonna call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board chairs comments, I don't really have one. Roll call, let the record reflect all members are here and accounted for. Looking for approval of agenda?
There must be a roll call
Oh. So that even if we're all here, it's gotta be a roll call vote.
vote. Well, approval of agenda has,
Oh,
every one of them has to be,
every vote we do has gotta be a roll call.
because we're virtual.
I'm not.
Are we gonna have discussion on the agenda?
Yeah, we can have discussion on it. You can discuss it before you move it. Go ahead.
Okay, are we gonna vote to keep the superintendent or not, like we did last year?
I did not put it on the agenda.
Can we add that? We did it last year at this time, that's why I was asking.
Should be a vote.
Yeah, we
Okay,
could,
I'll make a motion
yeah, there you go.
to add voting to keep the superintendent or not on, where should we put that in here?
Probably when we come out of the closed person.
Yeah, I guess we could do it after we come out of closed.
That would make sense with the contract.
All right. That's fine.
Yeah.
After closed meeting, so it'd be like
8,
10B or what? 10A?
10, 8.
Well,
10A.
10A, okay. 10A. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
So what, how does the motion read or not?
It'd be a motion to offer the superintendent a new contract. His contract is, like last year, we needed to vote in December because we need time to.
Mr. Chair, is there some reason we don't trust the new incoming board members to maybe make that decision? Or is there a reason why you want to suddenly push this through now? We've evaluated a few times. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm confused.
Well, last year in the December meeting, we were in the same situation where his contract was coming due and we needed to vote in December last year. And so that's what I was expecting.
Well, wasn't that kind of our fault, Noel, that we delayed
Was it in
that?
December?
Or what was the deal?
It was the
I
December
don't
meeting.
remember.
Yeah, what's the December?
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, didn't we delay that though, as a board?
No. we just, as of December, because you can open the job if you decide to, depending on what the board decides in January, and then you have
Okay,
a
so
better
then we can
chance.
give these people their opportunity to speak.
Oh,
New
yeah,
board people.
sure.
'Cause
They'll
that's
be
what
doing
I-
all of the,
That's what I'm afraid of, because it sounds like we've got to do some door slamming quick, and that's never.
no, it's, they'll be doing all of the interviews, all of the everything, or they may just decide we don't even want to do that,
All right, so this is just kind of a moved motion.
Well, no, this is what we did last year in the same circumstance. And so that's what I was expecting us
I'm
to do
sorry,
this
my
year.
right, you've got to forgive me, I'm the old girl. My recollection isn't always as good as the young.
In
But I
actuality,
said, I still feel that we should trust our incoming board.
Yeah, it'll be totally up to them. And you.
So could they decide to change what we vote tonight?
It would take 4 of them.
I will say one thing, if I may. And I don't, and it's not my prerogative, whatever you guys decide. But if I were a board member coming on, I wouldn't want to be tasked with that. I mean, and I told John that already, I'm not against John, I'm not anything, but I'm just saying, that's a tough decision for somebody who's never been on a school board. Even Mark knows, he's 4th year now, he says he's finally understanding it. I know if I were running for school board, and I did share that with John, whether you decide or not, and I'm Switzerland here. I'm just saying, that's a tough gig to put on a new school board who's never been on a school board.
Yeah, it just
And
gives them
hasn't
the
been part of the
option.
benchmarking or anything, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying anything for it or against it, I'm just saying that's rough. There were 3 that came in with Mr. Ellerbush, that happened, that's not an easy task. It's not an easy task no matter what.
So, but opening it up is not an easy task either. And that's this school board, this district, this board settling the next board with the task too.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
When I came on the board, the first month we were on, we were told that the last board had hired a dean of students that we needed to vote on. And I didn't think that was right. I didn't feel that was right at all. They tasked us with trying to budget for a dean of students that we didn't vote to hire.
Yeah.
And so I'm not all for, I think we should let it to the next board.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep some consistency in our,
What was the motion, Noel?
it was
Ted
to,
A.
the motion was to vote to extend the superintendent's contract.
Extend a reoffer
Or, yeah, offer him another contract.
or offer superintendent contract? Does that work for you?
Yeah.
All right.
And the fact that we voted in December last year, and this is our December meeting of this year, and we're in the same circumstance. His contract is due, and it's December.
All right. Has anybody got any discussion on this further? It was moved by Director Gerard and seconded by Director Holm to add to the agenda item 10A, a vote to offer superintendent contract after the closed meeting. This vote will be by roll call along with all votes because we're in virtual or whatever. So I'm gonna call your names off in alphabetical order because that's what I'm supposed to do. I just have to figure out what that is. Oh, boy. Russ Garretts.
Aye.
Noel Gerard.
Aye.
Randy Hackett. Nay. Ellie Holm.
Aye.
Mary Lang.
No,
Mark Petron.
No.
The vote is 3-3. The motion does not pass. All right. Is there any other amendments to the agenda?
I have one, Randy.
Yep, what do you got?
I would assume probably number 9, letter I. I just have a little farewell words to say, I guess. I don't know if I should do that
Aye.
now, but
Yeah, well, no,
before the
that's fine.
closed meeting.
Yeah, you want to address the
Yes.
public part of meeting?
Yep.
Oh, so it's not for us, it's for everybody.
Nope.
All right, okay. So do all, well, oh, we'll offer it up for any director to speak. I'm not just gonna put your name on there. Any director to offer, what do you, condolences to the rest? or what?
Yes.
To offer,
Words of
insight.
wisdom, I would say.
Insight, how about that? Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there discussion? Moved by Director Holm and seconded by Director Gerard to add to the agenda item I, which allows any director to offer insight. We're going to do this by roll call, so Russ
Aye.
Garretts.
Aye.
Noel Gerard.
Aye.
Randy Hackett. Aye. Ellie Holm.
Aye.
Mary Lang.
Aye.
Mark Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Is there a motion are there any other amendments to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
You two. It was moved by Director Gerard and seconded by Director Garretts to move the agenda to pass the agenda as amended, approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none. Russ Garretts.
Aye.
Noel Gerard.
Aye.
Randy Hackett. Aye. Ellie Holm.
Aye.
Mary Lang.
Aye.
Mark Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor? Oh, doggone it. Okay, so the aye vote is to approve the minutes and the nay vote is to not approve them. It was approved by Director Holm and seconded by Director Garretts to approve, it was moved by Director Holm and seconded by Director Garretts to approve the regular board meeting, November 23rd, special meeting, school learning model, December 7th, the policy meeting, December 8th, and finance committee meeting, December 8th. Russ Garretts.
Aye.
Noel Gerard.
Aye.
Randy Hackett. Aye. Ellie Holm.
Aye.
Mary Lang.
Aye.
Mark Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Recognition of citizens for input purposes.
You can come in on the chat,
Yeah,
I'll read it off.
I'll give another minute and then we'll move. And if somebody comes in later, we can come back to it.
Is anybody in here on that? Yeah. I just raised my hand as an experiment.
Just
Here.
to see if it's like
See if
a,
it's working. It says there's a problem notifying the leader. Please try again later.
Yeah.
oh, you raised your hand, not like this.
No,
Oh, okay.
I virtually raised my hand.
Sounds so much easier.
David, let's see.
No, I don't even see you in the meeting.
Yeah, I do that, join the meeting, but all I get is the agenda. I don't get the view. I get the agenda without the attachments.
You're in that meeting.
Yeah.
I thought you were in that Zoom call. I'm sorry. Yes, I am in the other meeting as well. And I think only the leader can see if your hand is raised, and I think Susan is our leader.
I just made myself leader.
So,
I didn't see a Zoom link.
Yeah, there's no chats, and on the Zoom, there's no hand raising.
Yeah, I didn't see a Zoom invitation, so that's why I'm not on the Zoom one.
It's on the website. That's right.
I also sent it out for board, for the board reading.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
I thought I did right at the top. I see no chat.
All right, moving on. If somebody comes in, can you notify me?
Absolutely.
That's great. Board committee report. Policy met. Continuing to work on policy. There was discussion of, is it 902?
Right.
902, about whether we change the appendices or just the, whether we change the policy or just the appendices. We're still working on that, but after we talked about that, and that wasn't on our list of ones to talk about, I got to thinking about it, that policy should be reviewed probably before we open that fitness center back up.
Actually, I'm asking you guys to remember, but you can actually go back and look at the minutes for March 10th policy meeting, April 14th policy meeting, April 27th fee change meeting, May 12th policy meeting, May 18th regular meeting. We discussed this exhaustively, and I know Director Lang and Director Hackett and I spent a lot of time on this policy, but I think our intent, there was some confusion about what our intent was. And as a board, my impression was our intent was our policy is there's no free memberships at the fitness center. Everybody pays. That's our policy. And then we have a fee schedule, and that can be reviewed every year and adjusted as necessary. Somehow, our policy, the sentence we wanted included in the policy got added to the fee schedule. And the problem with that is the policy doesn't say anywhere that there's no free memberships. So the fee schedule can be adjusted easily without the 3-month policy public input discussion that we went through. It can quietly be removed from the fee schedule and just, this fee schedule is updated, done deal. So what I'm asking you guys to do is remember what we did, because we disagreed, on what happened.
Yes, John.
Yeah, what started the whole discussion, number one, we reviewed it March 19th, 2019. And the reason we began doing the discussions was, if you remember, the Pine County Bank or Country Bank had a request in to see if non-local members, non-people that belonged in the district were going to participate or not. And that put it into the appendix where we made changes. And that was our whole discussion during those times, was that the policy was never brought up 1, 2, or 3 times for that. But the appendix was approved, the appendix was approved, and the fees changed. And in the fee structure, in the document to join the fitness center, it is set up for local, it's set up for families, it is set up for non-residents and residents. And you're right, that other part is not on there. That would be something we'd have to go back, change 902, but it is not it was never, the policy 902 was never brought up for first reading, second reading, or third reading. We did discuss the appendices at board meetings. You can go back and check that in the board meetings.
Mr. Gerard, if I recall, aren't we tasked that when we change policy, we open the door to a whole lot of other, a Pandora's box, if we're not very careful how we do that. I think that's what you're trying to tell us and remind us that we need to be extremely careful about our policy changes, correct?
Well, yeah, we have to be careful about it, but it's a pretty basic question. Is there any free memberships as a policy?
And I thought that was decided that there were not.
Yes, that's what we decided.
Maybe I-
But somehow it's, and I was under the impression that that policy was, all these dates, if you look back in the minutes, policy 902, and somehow it just didn't happen. So,
Well,
I'm just
with the
asking
board
you guys if
coming
you
on,
remember that.
We need to keep that in mind, Director, I think. I think
Can the appendix be changed without 3 readings?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the whole
That
point
could be a
of that.
backroom deal and
And that's why we
nobody has to
put it
know.
there. And it clearly says non-resident resident.
Yeah.
Doesn't say anybody gets a free lunch out.
Right now,
Correct.
but it doesn't have to have public input to change.
Well, that's why you bring it to meeting and discuss it. We brought it to a number of different meetings to discuss that because we went from one end of the spectrum with non-residents participating to the other end of the spectrum of having them participate but paying more. We talked about wear and tear on the machinery, what it would cost, and we're gonna have to look at recovering that cost somehow. And our taxpayers in our residency here, and not just taxpayers, but renters anywhere in our boundary of district, already paid for the machinery, already paid for the facility, but people outside the district didn't, and therefore they had to pay more. And I think it's $25 a month versus $10 a month is the difference. So we totally changed the fee structure, but I mean, there was a lot of great discussion on it. Like you said, we went from one side to the other.
Okay. Is there any other committee reports?
Yeah, just to, I'm still under the impression that we discussed that policy thoroughly. And I'd like to see it as a policy because that way to change that sentence, it would take 3 meetings and a lot of discussion,
What would it take to change? We would have to do 3 meetings
Nope.
to.
not for the attachment for facility fees.
Well,
That can just get changed in a,
no, but I mean to change the policy.
I thought we already did that. That's why I'm saying I
Oh.
think it was a mistake that, you know. I think we should correct that mistake unless you guys understood it differently than I did.
I don't remember whether we worked on the, I don't know whether it was on the appendix or I was under the assumption that appendix were,
Part of the policy.
well, that they weren't just changeable without board approval. Does it take board approval to change the appendix?
Yes. And it took a lot of debate to put it where it was. That's why it was up so many times. But the policy 902 was never open because we had just passed it. The discussion started before March 19th. We didn't want to reopen it, but changing the appendix would do that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Noel, would you be satisfied with it going back to policy committee and coming back to the board with a recommendation?
Sure.
I think that would be a good.
I think it should be on the very next policy.
could we get it on the agenda for the next policy meeting?
Certainly with the new board.
And this is
Yeah,
policy 902.
With the recommendation that the language gets, I mean, with that status, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I
And
mean-
that's probably the right,
It's the right thing to do.
Yep.
all right? All right, in the interest of trying to move this along, Finance Committee, they meet?
Yes.
Oh, wait, 1 second. Do we have anything else that we need to talk about from policy? The policies that we're gonna vote on tonight is third reading. There was minimal changes and there's not big changes in any of them, right? No,
There
so,
was just the one that Noel made.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but that was on the second reading policies, which was a very good change, I thought.
yeah, can you,
We'll do that when we get to
All
the
right.
policy.
all right, yeah, we can do that. All right. Finance Committee? Anything to say?
I think I.
Yeah, you
I
did a good
covered
job.
it.
All right.
We reviewed what Don was presenting, right? We looked at the general budget and funds. Basically what you reviewed tonight, we took a once over and gave feedback and asked questions.
You got another budget coming due here real soon, huh, for next year? It's amazing how it just rolls one to the next, huh?
It just never ends.
Yeah. Any other committee reports? All right, business managers report,
I think I covered everything. I've taken enough time.
superintendent's report,
I have nothing at this time.
principals report.
I'll add that we started preschool back in person today and it went well, including the meals and transportation. And at the elementary, we've been working to identify students and families with extra support needed. So we've been doing a good job with that. And we have some kids coming in to get some individual support. And our childcare program continues to go well. And then I think as kind of morale boosters, the staff did a dance video, which our music teacher, Samantha Velde, put together. And they're in the process of putting a lip sync Christmas song together. So trying to have some fun during these times also. Otherwise, just thank you to the staff for the extra work, and things are moving along pretty well.
Okay. Anything else, Phil?
No, unless anybody has any questions.
Are there any questions for Phil? Thank you, Dr. Grbata. Is
Joel, are you
Joel,
on?
are you there?
Can everyone hear me?
Yep, I can.
I just would echo Dr. Grbata with, it's not fair he gets to go first. He always takes all the thunder. No, I'd like to thank the staff for their hard work over the past few weeks. I think today was the first day that we've had, we had some staff rejoin us that have been out for a while, and we're still battling to try to get back. The staff is doing a very good job. We too are bringing more students in weekly, identifying students who are having trouble. Between the high school office and David working with families with internet trouble, trying out different things. We have tried Verizon antennas, hotspots, T-Mobile hotspots, and we've been getting those out to families, trying to solve as many internet issues as we can. And when we can't solve it, we are working on ways to bring students in when needed, and schedule them to come into the building to receive support if they need, or sometimes they're just coming in to access the Wi-Fi and the internet so they have a reliable connection. And otherwise, things are going well despite.
And you're gone. That's the technology part.
Imagine trying
Charge
to-
the hotspot. All right. I believe he was pretty well done with this report. Was there any questions for Mr. Swenson? All right. Athletic report?
All right, just quickly, I sent out kind of an update of what the high school league decided on. They have a responsive calendar. Whenever the pause ends, we can get back to practices and begin competitions, but no competitions for sure before January 4th. We've been working hard to reschedule competitions that we were supposed to have in December, and we were hopeful that we would know on Friday what Walls would say. That got pushed to Monday, only to wake up this morning to find out that it's pushed to Wednesday. So we're still in a holding pattern of when we can begin these winter sports.
Okay. Any questions for Tony? All right, we're gonna move on then. Discussion, information, and action items. The approval of the final levy. I'll move that.
I'll second.
Uh,
Is there discussion?
I have some.
Oh, go for it.
Over the last 6 months, I've met a lot of really hardworking, talented young people. And, you know, these people, they sweated in the summertime and they cold in the wintertime. They're getting the job done. And, a lot of them are younger and they have younger children. First graders, third graders, right in there. And I kept hearing, you're making me make a choice between my wife taking off work or paying for childcare. And it's hurting me financially. And the only answer I had for him was our staff isn't up to the numbers we need to have school open for your kids. And what they told me was, I'm not getting the education that I'm paying for here. And now you're making me pay for childcare or else my wife has to take off work. As far as the distance learning, you saw just now what happens with that. So, I can't support this. That's just adding to it. You know, we're not giving them the service that they should have. Now we're going to charge them more money. So
Okay.
I don't support it.
Would anybody like to speak for the levy?
The thing is, Mr. Chair, it's surely going down in history as a very sad period of time. Because these choices that are being made by young families, it's horrendous. There's no excuse, but it is a pandemic. And that's the only thing that I can speak to. Is that it is a pandemic, and believe me, it is affecting all. And some people, I wish I could take them into my home, to tell you the truth.
I guess I'm obligated to speak for it. I understand Director Gerard's position, respect it. I will say we have $563,000 in levy for our general fund. The rest, we're obligated to, whether we vote yes or no for this levy, we're obligated to pay it. That's not a matter. So 30% of our levy, is our general fund. I will say, I support the levy. I always have. Everyone on this board knows it. Without it, there is aid associated with this levy. It's equalized to about 45% in total. I just showed you, I'll show you the fact I do have it, but we have 308,000 right off the top with just LOR. $308,000 associated aid out of the $430,000 in LOR, which is local optional. We will be cutting programs. We will be cutting, you just can't. We won't have a choice at that point. I'm just gonna say, that's my stance on it. And I have to support it, and I do respect Director Gerard for his, he's out there, he's with the public. I will just say that if we don't have it, we lose the aid associated, we will be cutting programs for the school district. So I support it. I guess I just had to put that in there because I do support our tax base. I've never had children in any school I've ever worked in or lived in, but I do, either way, I support educating our children through local tax base.
Does anybody else want to speak to it?
I just have one more remark. I
Yeah,
guess.
go ahead.
Yeah, the reality of the situation is these people don't have anyone to speak for them. They don't have anyone to represent them. And that's our job. The school, we don't represent the school. They have all kinds of unions to represent them. The people that I talk to, I'm their representative, and I'm voting the way that these people, and these are, like I said, they're talented, hardworking people. And they're in a bad spot right now, and we're just making it harder on them by what we're doing here. So, that's all I have.
Anybody else want to speak to it? It was moved by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Lang to approve the final levy. This will be a roll call vote. One second. I copied the names from one side to the other. I just want to make sure I still have it in alphabetical order. I don't want to get accused of something I'm not trying to do. Director Garretts.
Aye.
Director Gerard.
Nay.
Director Hackett. Aye. Director Holm.
Aye.
Director Lang.
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-1-0. Sorry, I'm tripping over my tongue. All right, claims, accounts, and financial. Anybody want to move that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I hope that's not a 747 coming in.
It's the train.
All right. It was moved by Director Holm and seconded by Director Gerard to approve accounts payables and receivables and employee reimbursements as attached and approve all other financial reports as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote again. Director Garretts.
Aye.
Director Gerard.
Aye.
Director Hackett. Aye. Director Holm.
Aye.
Director Lang.
Aye.
Director Petron. Motion passes 6-0-0. Approval of FMLA leave. Somebody want to move that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's moved by Director Garretts and seconded by Director Lang to approve FMLA for high school science teacher Heidi Norenberg, approximately April 14th, 2021 through the end of the school year. Any discussion? Hearing none, Director Garretts,
Aye.
Director Gerard,
Aye.
Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0-0. Approval of new hires. We have Charlie Rudy, Assistant Wrestling Coach, Spencer Elwell, Assistant Wrestling, and Brooke Barthel, Bus Driver.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Is there
Oh, we
any?
got some volunteers. You wanna do those?
Oh, yeah, and then we have some volunteers, Jason Casella for volunteer wrestling, Celeste Ullman for volunteers girls basketball, and Bill Bauman, volunteer girls and boys basketball.
I'll include that motion.
Be
I'll include
busy.
it in my second.
Alrighty. Good. Any discussion? There you go. Who moved it? I didn't.
Director Petron, Director Gerard, second.
It was moved by Director Petron and seconded by Director Gerard to approve the following hires and volunteers of Charlie Rudy, Assistant Wrestling, Spencer Elwell, Assistant Wrestling, Brooke Barthel, Bus Driver, Jason Casella, Volunteer Wrestling, Celeste Ullman, Volunteer Girls Basketball, and Bill Bauman, Volunteer for Girls and Boys Basketball. All right, Russ Garretts,
Aye.
Director Gerard,
Aye.
Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0-0. Approval of donations. This has to be done by resolution. Somebody want to move it?
Yes, I will move it.
I'll second.
It takes me longer because I'm trying to use my good penmanship. Member Garretts introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas Boy Scout has generously offered to donate $250 to the Railton School District. Whereas the conditions on this gift are for use in the Media Center books. Therefore, be it resolved by the Railton School Board to gratefully accept the gift. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by Member Gerard. And upon a roll call vote being taken thereof, the following voted in favor. Well, Director Garretts,
Aye.
Director Gerard,
Aye.
Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
So the directors that voted for were Garretts, Gerard, Hackett, Holm, Lang, and Petron. And the voted against it were no one, and the directors that abstained was no one. The foregoing resolution 6-0-0 approved this 14th day of December 2020. All right. Policy reading. All right.
The third reading, we did change nothing in either 505 or 903 for the third reading. And that would need a motion to pass those on.
Yep. Somebody want to move policy number 505 and policy 903? I will move it.
I'll second.
It was moved by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Gerard to approve policy number 505 and 903. Is there discussion? With that, we'll vote. Director Garretts,
Aye.
Director Gerard,
Aye.
Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm,
Aye.
Director Lang.
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0-0. With that, we have the second reading policies. Anybody have anything that they want to go to policy committee? Let the policy committee know. Moving on to item G, protocol for COVID. John, do you want to present
Yeah.
this?
This has with the quarantine and what we have to have is Tony come on. I handed out a sheet that Tony Newman put together. This is to shorten the time. It's shorter, yes, if you follow the directions in the board briefing. I told you, we have to constantly monitor the way you shorten it. Has to do with taking the test. So Tony, are you ready to speak to it?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right. Last week we were notified by MDH as they looked at the CDC guidelines for quarantine and shorting it. And I was in on the nursing call in the state of Minnesota, had over like 1,200 people on the call. And they spent time going through what has stayed the same and what has changed in the MDH guidelines. Much of it has stayed the same. The science behind it has not changed. The amount of time it takes for you to be a close contact, to the distance, to all that has stayed the same. So what they decided to do is, from the behavioral side of things, make things a little bit more palatable to decrease that financial burden, mental and physical limitations that this 14-day quarantine puts on people. Protocols stay the same: masking and mask usage, social distancing and hybrid, reporting of symptoms, and then being diligent. The quarantine that does stay the same is within the household. So if someone in the household is COVID positive, you are still following the 10-day isolation and followed by a 14-day quarantine. So that is still unchanged. So in a household, a person could be out up to 24 days because of that. So that has not changed. What did change in this is a shortened quarantine can happen in a couple different situations. The first one, the first stipulation here, it has to be a one-time exposure. There has to be a definite start and stop date for this exposure. And they even made a mention that this could happen over several days. Doesn't have to be I was in one classroom for an hour with this positive individual and now I'm a close contact. It could have happened over a couple days. The other things that that kind of change with the shortened quarantine is a 7-day and a 10-day option of getting out early. Now, in a 10-day quarantine, if you have no symptoms on day number 10, you can resume your daily activities on day number 11. You can have it tested positive. No one in your household can be symptomatic or test positive. And this is the important part, is if you have one singular symptom on day 11 through 14, that person is out immediately and then they have to go get tested. So that one singular symptom is something like a runny nose, congestion, a cough, something that we would just kind of say that it's a cold or it's starting of a cold. That makes a person out automatically. So that's kind of a new thing. The 7-day quarantine option follows some of the same guidelines. No symptoms, no positive tests, no one in the house can be positive or symptomatic. And in order for you to shorten to a 7-day quarantine, you have to, no earlier day number 5, take a COVID test. This COVID test has to be a PCR test, which means it's not an antigen test. There is one rapid test that is approved, and that's Abbott ID, now rapid test. But most of them are going to take a couple days to get back. So if on day number 5 you're able to get a test, and you get your results back and you're negative on day number 7, you can come to school, provided we have that on file. But again, if you have one symptom, just one, you're out until you get another test. So that's what makes it really, really difficult. So on face value, yeah, they shorten things, but they still say, recommend a 14-day quarantine as that is the safest option. And as I'm kind of working through all of this and figuring out how this is all going to work, there's some challenges for sure that have to be navigated through, reporting, documentation, data entry. All of that is kind of a difficult component to navigate, because if we have 80 kids coming in on day number 10 of a quarantine, now they can come back to school, how are we going to monitor these kids for these symptoms? Lining them up in the office and then doing an assessment before they go to class. You just let them go to class, but in that scenario, you get a kind of heightened awareness. A sniffle, a runny nose, a cough. Everyone's going to be pretty heightened when we have a shorter quarantine. We've shared out with some people the home screening tool, whether or not you should send your kid to school. But when we have a lot of people out as close contacts and they're ending their quarantines, that's when things get really, really hectic, really, really busy with that data entry, monitoring, so on and so forth.
So I have a question.
Yep.
So I read through it, and we're heading into January in Minnesota. But
Yep.
the individual is out immediately until his test is complete. I mean, we're not gonna kick him out of the building, right?
No, what they would do is even when we did have those 2 symptoms where I have a hoarse throat, I have a sore throat and a runny nose, they come down to the nurse. Our nurses would assess them. If they are following the COVID protocol, they do go to the COVID room. We'd still follow the same process, still call home. Hey, little Johnny's sick. They got 2 symptoms. You need to come get them as soon as you can. But in this quarantine, your child was quarantined. They're on day number 10. They only have 1. All they have is a cough. Well, they didn't have that this morning. I'm sorry. You got to come get your kid on day number 10. So that's where it gets really tricky with having to explain to families. Well, day number 10, you shorten quarantine. I'm good to go. No, you still have to monitor for those next 4 days through day number 14, even though they're back in school. And until on day number 15, if they have that cough, okay, they can stay. But if it's day number 14 and they have a cough, they're out. And then they got to get a test before they can come back.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
So for us to shorten the time and follow this will take a vote from the school board. Otherwise, it'll stand where we are now.
Okay. Is this your recommendation, Tony, is that we do this, or are you recommending that we stay where we were?
It's super difficult. I want to release some burden off of these families that are out these 14 days. But families have to know that if they get that runny nose midday or they show up with it, they're going to get called back, and then they've got to go in and get a test, and then that's going to be a little bit longer. So it's if it helps our kids and helps our families get back to work and get back, it's going to be added stress. It's going to be added workload on the nurses and my part. But if it's going to help out the kids, get them back sooner, then that's what we have to do.
Okay. Any other discussion? With that, is there a director like to move this?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, I gotta find here. was moved by Director Holm and seconded by Director Lang to approve the shortening of quarantine protocols for COVID-19. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll call vote. Director Garrett,
Aye.
Director Gerard,
Aye.
Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0-0. Thank you, Tony.
The next one I put on the agenda because there were some questions whether we should be running athletics while we're in distance learning. And I addressed that a little bit in the board briefing, but I thought it would be good to bring it up for discussion and if you wanted to change it. Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, practices are supposed to start on the 21st.
Yes, that's coming Monday. If the pause is lifted, midnight on Friday. Yep.
So what we're doing tonight could be moved. Would have no value possibly if they extend it.
Right.
No.
Chairman, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, I'll comment. I guess I was a little, it's hard, right? Because a little bit, we're not in school. How can we have athletics? I'm a little torn between the two, but I've come to the resolve that I think if athletics can start the 21st, I'm fine with that. I think when competitions start, I think we have to try to figure out a way. So if they do start January 4th, like you said, this could all be moved. Our goal is to get our kids back into school on the 11th, right? I guess I'm very much resolved with that. I don't think sports cannot keep the school from the other kids, all the kids getting back to school. So if that means we can't have a bus driver that runs a regular route take, girls or boys basketball team to Becker or Eden Valley. Because if that happens, then that bus, that bus driver is in COVID contact, right? Now suddenly they can't drive. So I think we need to be proactive and try to set ourselves up. So I want sports to happen, but I think in my mind, it's even more important that we get the kids back in school. So we have to make sure that whatever happens with the sports, it cannot make us be the cause to say, no, we can't come back on the 11th or continue to go in the January, February, March.
But yeah, because we may make it skate right through January and next thing you're February. Yeah, that's.
So I guess that's my concern.
I would agree with you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
well, we've been told that one of the safest places is the school, and the reason that we can't come back is because we don't have enough staff. I think we have enough staff for sports. Just my 2 cents worth.
Oh, you?
Yep.
Oh, go for it.
All right, I'm gonna put my 2 cents in also. I've thought about this because as much as I would love to be able to be watching sports and the kids involved and just activity in general, I would have to kind of echo Russ. I guess in the big scheme of things, school does come first. And as much as parents, I'm sure want their kids out getting activity and as well as I do, the number one focus should be school. And yeah, in turn, if COVID affects that because of the sports, we have to be really careful about that in making, the decisions on whether to hold it or not. I mean, and I do agree with Mark because yet these kids aren't the ones being affected and unfortunately it's staff keeping us out.
Yes.
Just thinking about it, what Russ said makes sense except for the time when you're gonna find out that you've screwed it up, it's already too late.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
so if we voted not to start up, when do they get to start up? When is that? Is
I
that
would
just never? When we vote no, it's never?
well, I would assume that that would be hooked with the emergency order, would be my
I
assumption.
would think that it's, if we vote to let them, it's gonna be, whatever the governor says on Wednesday is gonna overrule everything we say, so. That's why I'm saying I think we should go ahead and vote yes to let them. And just let the governor decide on Wednesday what's gonna happen.
And I'm
I'm,
gonna say something else.
go ahead.
Thinking. To kind of trail off a Mark, you know, you think about these kids sitting at home with no guidance, if parents are working, laying in bed, laying on the couch, doing their homework. I mean, maybe activity, unfortunately, we've taken away every healthy living aspect of life. Maybe getting them back to some activity would do good. I don't know.
That's good.
You know, I mean, we've taken the gyms away, we've taken everything away that contributes to living a healthy lifestyle. Maybe activity would be a good start.
Yeah, it's tough because that's a really good thought, right up until you don't have enough bus drivers to
I
run
know,
your school, you know?
And like I said, that's my concern. I'm with sports start and my kids when basketball starts, they'll be, you know, the second and third ones in the gym probably right after the gym doors open. But I think that's a choice. But again, I think we have to be careful that, you know, for that, you know, 30 kids or 40, 60 kids that play basketball. Now, if that impacts our other, you know, whatever, 900 and some kids, I think we have to think about that. So if there is an alternative, because I know football teams are using, who are they using to transport them?
Palmer was one of them.
Palmer. I doubt that's an option again.
No, it's no longer.
But-
It's no longer an option.
yes, go ahead.
Is there any way we can have the only real risk here, or the immediate risk, is the bus driver, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
Well-
if we had a designated bus driver, would that suffice, or would we need like 5 designated bus drivers?
Well, I actually have had this discussion with Gayleen. Gayleen feels at this time that we are covered. I can't release some information, but we're covered rather good right now because of extenuating circumstances that kind of help us with that. If we were forced into a situation, the discussion Tony and I had was we could have parents drive them and coaches drive them behind the van. Just so you know, the majority of our coaches are not part of our teaching staff.
Okay, Tony, are you still on?
Yep.
How many transportation professionals would we need at any given time, on any given night?
I was just looking at that myself, to be honest with you. Looks like we have no more than 2 groups going at a time. And it's maybe twice a month
Would
is
you,
all.
would you be able to manage it between the two to make it so we can still transport the kids to school and have particular people that can transport the sports teams without that cross-pollination that you get with regular bus driver on the route?
I believe we can, but I'll add a third. Aileen is the key piece.
Okay.
As I wrote to you, we are now as of the first of the year, we'll have more drivers available, which make a big difference. Before, we had no drivers available.
Right. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend this one.
You don't have to do anything if you want to leave it as it is, just so you know first. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Wait. You'd like to amend what?
Yeah, I'd like to amend it so that
Right?
we can approve athletics during COVID-19 if the superintendent and AD and superintendent or supervisor of transportation can isolate the drivers so that it doesn't impact the regular school routes. You get all that?
I thought we were still working on it here.
Anyway, that's my thought. That way we could do both, you know.
Good motion.
And there might not be competition, so.
Yeah.
Well, there might not be, but
We
You
still
gotta
gotta
find a
protect
school that
our,
could be moved.
we gotta still protect our.
Right.
bus
No,
routes.
that's
I agree. It's a good amendment.
approval of athletics during COVID-19, provided administration.
We can isolate drivers for transportation, supervisors, and superintendent. And athletic, or not athletic, activity director.
I'm not trying to amend your amendment.
You can?
No, I'm not. This is just we learned in football that, you know, perhaps that we don't have all the teachers riding on the bus either. If they're all coaches, maybe we use a school van and have one or coach, you know. The bus ride is a lot of our problem, whether it's a bus ride to school or the bus ride to sports, the bus ride is our issue right now. So that's what constitutes, because when you're 15 minutes on, or a half hour on a bus, is that what it is? Half hour on a bus with somebody that's positive, you're quarantined.
It's even a half over so many days, right? So the kid could be on the bus for 10 minutes a day and
Yeah.
over 3 days,
So,
Half an hour a day
half hour a day. Okay.
in a 24-hour period.
Aren't we still social
Okay.
distancing our teachers though?
well, but if they're on the bus,
Well, right, I'm
if
saying.
you have
why
3
do we
teachers
have
that are
to-
coaches and they're on that bus, instead of losing 1 teacher, you're losing 3, and we could probably send a van with 2 of them, and they still have supervision on that bus. I would think that would be some insurance, wouldn't it?
We could still lose 2. I mean,
Well, I know, but
I know, I'm just putting it out there. 'cause
I know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be positive, Don.
I
So-
am too.
Could the coaches be in contact even just through the coaching? You know, so I don't know if the bus ride even matters, right?
Well, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
For some, you know, as we work through it this fall, you got to really be diligent about where you are and what you're doing. And it's easier outside. It's more difficult inside, but still, when you're in practice, I mean, you're not in the drill most instances where you wouldn't be a close contact. It gets a little more tricky when you know, perhaps in wrestling, you're in that room and you're posted up, you're working with a couple athletes. That gets a little more tricky. But we haven't, because of practice or even games, based on the distancing that we've set up and the protocols that we've put into place, we have not had anybody identify as close contact during a practice or a competition. It's been the bus ride.
Okay. Yeah, but we're all getting better. I mean, everybody stands a little bit further away from everybody. I know because I'm half hard of hearing and I can't ever hear what anybody's saying, so. Yes.
Russ, want to read the 2 questions on?
I can, yes. So one of the questions is, what about community ed sports when the order is out? guess oh yeah, Ted is on. Ted, are you still out there? We'd have to wait till John.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Ted,
great.
do you know, so, and maybe Tony knows this too, or John has stepped back in now. So when if the president,
Go.
the governor ends say on the 21st says, yep, sports are a goal. John, or Tony or Ted, how does that affect community ed, or does it not affect community ed?
Yeah, I can speak to that if you'd like.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, so community ed was set up initially to start on December 1st with practices. Obviously that got put on pause. I've mirrored everything that, Tony and I have been in contact, everything that the high school league and we're doing at the, at athletic level at the high school. I've been mirroring as far as protocols and practices, meetings, and such. So with that order ending potentially on the 19th and practices starting on the 21st with community ed, we wouldn't practice over Christmas break anyways. With it being so close to Christmas, we wouldn't start practices, the 2 or 3 days before Christmas, and then again practice during the Christmas break holiday. That's never been a community ed practice. So my plan was to start then after we came back in January, depending on decisions that are made that you're talking about now, after the 4th or the 11th, depending on when we come back to school.
Okay.
And the other question, and it's I think more of an idea about supervision on the bus. How about parent supervision on buses? Which, if we're able, I think that's it.
Well, this is where it's kind of getting a little more in the gray area. Is the CMC ADs have met and asked the superintendents to consult with one another, and the pathway that we're moving is home fans only, and that is to reduce community to community spread, and parents that drive their kid to the game because they don't want to quarantine on the bus or whatever, they're not able to come in the building to an away event.
That's just, you guys, this is like the Twilight Zone.
No kidding.
But right now, there's some schools that will not let people in. Just
All
so
right.
you know.
So I'm gonna try to figure out where we are in the meeting here. So right now, we have a motion and a second to approve. No, we don't have anything. That's the last one. Right now, we have a motion of a changed, an amended motion. It's approval of athletics during COVID-19, provided administration isolates drivers. That okay with you guys? Susan, what did you have?
Approval of athletics during COVID-19 amended if we can isolate drivers for transportation, supervisor, athletic director, and superintendent.
I like that better. We'll keep that one. You guys okay with that?
I'll second it.
All right, and it's seconded by Director Petron. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we're gonna have to wait a minute or two.
What is the policy if a board member gets sick or something? And has to
So,
You continue.
yeah, you just power on, I think,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing if somebody's not at the meeting. you just have a
But
meeting.
does it change your vote totals then? Like, do they? No, but I mean,
it's supposed to just 5-0-0 then, or
yeah, I mean, do they not vote then?
I imagine. I think so. Good question. I think so.
I call the question. Say, I call
I'll call the question.
Oh, the question's been called. So, this is gonna be a roll call vote again, guys, so. Director Garretts,
Aye.
Director Gerard,
Aye.
Director Hackett, aye. Director Holm,
Aye.
Director Lang, Director Petron.
Aye.
All right. Moving on, now we are at item I. I'll give Director Holm the first swing at this since she wanted it.
All right. So I just wanted to take a minute and address the public, meanings this will be my last meeting. First and foremost, I want to thank the community for letting me represent you the last 4 years. I want to give words of advice for upcoming board and future boards. Take it or leave it. I had received bits from previous boards from the past and took them with a grain of salt, and they all became very true to live by. First, you are voted in by the taxpayers and you are here to represent them. There's no other way to put it. A board member is the community's voice. Always, always, always get your own information. The Department of Education, the Minnesota School Board Association, your local representatives, district citizens, and students are great for facts and truth. Never ever should a personal relationship get in the way of your decision making. You need to do what's best for the majority. Take people out of your decisions and do not do what's best for you or what benefits yourself and or one or two other people. I'll tell you, this is a hard role to take on, but that's your responsibility. It shouldn't be an I scratch your back, you scratch mine type of system. There are many things you will learn. There's some great information and unfortunately, misfortunate information. It is very, very eye-opening. Enjoy the learning opportunity to future boards, and again, thank you to the taxpayers I was able to represent.
Good job.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would just like to say that I was very honored to be on this board and you guys all made it easier to be on this board. It was a lot harder than what I thought it would be when I ran. I had no idea how much you have to know to be on this board. And I wouldn't change too many of my votes based on what I knew at the time when I voted. Sometimes you wish later that you could change your vote after you learn more, but there isn't too many of my votes that I would change. And I just want to thank everybody for being patient with me, for being a new board member. And it was an honor. Thank you.
Anybody else want to address?
Did you want to address?
No, I'm okay.
I do.
You
It was out by
Knowles was second.
Oh, no, you want to, okay.
Yeah, this is last board meeting for 3 of us. I had a lot of fun and it was, it's a job, you know, you can't walk in cold without having read all the state statutes that pertain to education, because you'll be led down that path easily if you don't know what the law says. So that's just advice for new board members, is read the state statutes. And then I'd like to thank my fellow board members. It's actually good to hear other people's viewpoints, and it's not acrimonious. It's just, this is how I feel about this issue, and then you listen to what other people feel about it. And sometimes they change your mind, and sometimes you change their mind, but in the end, you hopefully come to an equitable resolution to whatever the question is. And then finally, I'd like to thank the people that voted for me, and I hope I represented you the way you wanted me to. That's all I have.
All right, well, as the chairman of the board, I'd like to thank you for your service. Being on the board, I recognize the work it takes. Thank you for your service. Don't make yourself strangers to us. As a board member, I find that a lot of times in the public, former board members have sixth sense about board work. So they know it's kind of the same old thing over and over again. So don't make yourself scarce. And with what Noel said about it's good to hear other people's viewpoints, and it's not easy. That's why I call it board work. It is work. So thank you for your service. And with that, if anybody else has anything, I'd recognize them. Mary?
First of all, when I came on the board, seems like a couple months ago, but it was a couple years now. I met all of you, and I did not know any one of you. You didn't have my kids in school, you didn't drive my bus, you didn't coach my kids. But I've become extremely fond of each of you and the gifts that you have brought to this group. Mark, your quiet demeanor, your calm, intelligent look at things. And Noel, your tenacity to find the truth. God bless you for that. Randy, your gracious sense of humor and your leadership. Ellie, your kindness, your compassion for our children and certainly for our cats. And then Russ, what can I say about Russ? That probably hasn't always been said. He's a one-of-a-kind item and definite jewel to have on this board. Now, I know you're very jewel. But anyhow, it has been my true honor and pleasure to get to know and to work with each one of you. And yes, no, we didn't always agree. But God bless you, you didn't beat up this little old lady. Thank you. Thank you all for your graciousness and certainly for your service, first of all, to our children, and secondly, of course, to our taxpayers, which you must remember, I still am a big one. Take care, all of you. God bless you.
All right. Anybody else want to address?
I just appreciate the board members that are leaving, they're the ones that brought me on. I know we didn't always agree on things, but that's how it is. The thing I respect so much is coming to some conclusions over it. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. With that, I'd entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make a
Second.
Oh, you guys are good. It was moved by Director Gerard, seconded by Director Petron to close the meeting for personnel issues. I think that's what's listed. Is there any discussion? All right, roll call vote here. Director Garretts.
Aye.
Director Gerard.
Aye.
Director Hackett. Aye. Director Holm.
Aye.
Director Lang.
Aye.
Director Petron.
Aye.
With that, the meeting is now closed pursuant to Minnesota State Statute 13D.01.
Are you going to take